What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. I am, of course, your host, Vaughn Coleman, and I do have a special guest. It's a long time coming, actually. I don't think he's even been on like casual live streams on my channel. Come to think of it, but I've streamed this guy a bunch. Before we get into that, I do want to pull up and show myself real quick, because you know what? It's my channel, and I can do what I want. And that is, of course, Living Legends. It will be colored, this book, by the way, if you're only seeing black and white art. But this comic book is going to be a 64-page first issue of an ongoing superhero series. It's if you guys don't know, I'm kind of a huge superhero comic book nerd, so this is just like everything I love. It's a dream I've had since I was a little kid. It's centered around this teenage boy who is struck by lightning while holding this mysterious crystal, and he finds himself having lightning powers and super speed, and so he immediately, because he's such a huge superhero fanatic and he has this drive to just always fight and do the right thing, he throws a costume together and throws caution to the wind and tries to become a superhero, but he finds himself in way over his head. We're going to see some flashbacks of World War III. I'm saving a lot of that for a prequel, but I'm not going to hide any information that I feel you need to know. I'm going to give you some glimpses, so I did want to show off some art here. This is some of my favorite interior art. There is more to come, and there will be a trading card if you sign up that will be done by my friend Jules. If you're regular on the channel, you know that. I've seen some mock-ups. It's going to be great. But definitely, you'll only be able to get that trading card if you sign up, so make sure you do that. But enough about me, all right? You know, Vaughn Coleman is great, but you want to know who he's presenting. And I am, of course, presenting the great Narwhal, a.k.a. Berg. How you
What's
doing,
up?
Narwhal?
Cloud Strife. What's up, man?
Yeah.
You're the great you're the new great white hope of Comicsgate, because your boy Zach announced that has no longer has hope in Sean Gordon Murphy. I kind of agree with that too. We were all kind of holding out hope that he would be like a more on our side, and he keeps playing the middle road, kind of weird stuff. And so now, Vaughn, it's all you, man.
Bright light hope. Okay, you got it. I'll take. That's a new one. You know what? I'll take a compliment when I can get it.
Yeah, I see in the chat. How's it going, everyone? There's a couple people that I've never seen before. That means that we're already doing a good job promoting it, because then, our Venn diagram overlap of audience. There's some people that aren't familiar with old Narwhal, hopefully.
Thick comics. Nice.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Nudge?
No,
Bond?
you know what? I'll get right at that. Was going to be one of. Let's get right into it. What is the nudge? Tell
Yeah,
me
I
all
can't believe
about
you
it.
don't know about the Nudge if we've been hanging out. But so you got to come on my channel sometime. We'll do it when you launch your book. But if you come on my channel and you get some backers when we're promoting it, that's called the Narwhal Nudge. But that got shortened to just the Nudge, kind of like a wrestling move. Like, come on my channel, get the Nudge. But then that got changed to the Nudge. I'm going to get you the Nudge if you come on my channel. So.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow, so it evolved a lot. For some reason, Marco is insisting on more like Zach than Cloud, and he doesn't really elaborate. So he goes, I go, what? How? Oh wait,
Is that better or worse? Yeah, like is that because they're
Sorry,
both clones or whatever? So.
Well, it's not even that. It just was basically like, how am I more like Zach? And then I forget what he said, but I was like, he just kind of described who Zach was. I'm like, no, that doesn't answer my question. But whatever. I'll take that. I think Zach was the better one because he made Soldier. So like anyway. Enough about that.
That's funny.
So I guess either way I'll take it. You know what I mean? Either way I'm badass. So all right, so we got your comic book. I know you've done a lot, and a lot of people have said you're a bit of a genius. But before I get into some of I want to, examine the mind behind a genius. So you do comics now. I know you're also a fellow film guy. But like, how did you get started with just like creative stuff, and what led you here? I guess we'll start with that. Like, what got you into storytelling?
Yeah. I was kind of getting into it in high school, and I started getting into comics in high school, kind of with the idea even then that comics are a zero budget way where you can kind of tell stories, where movies are a little bit harder. And I'd make movies with my friends, but nothing serious. But the first thing that I was kind of really seriously pursuing was screenwriting in like my early 20s in like college. I didn't take college classes for it, but I kind of just was doing it on my own. I read a lot of books. And then right out of college, I did have a mentor, which really helped, but he was just another filmmaker who was a little bit older, and he was a really good writer. And I would do art for him for his screenplays to kind of help make pitch packages, kind of no actual comic art, but like just concept art almost. And then in exchange, he worked at a video store that was kind of like a boutique video store. They have all the tons of rare, awesome shit. And he would give me free rentals, and he would give me these watch lists of like, I don't know, like 100 movies to watch. Some of them are kind of artsy fartsy. Some of them are like buried classics or whatever. And then we talking about writing and storytelling. We co-wrote a few scripts together. And so I learned a bunch from him. And then that was like my 20s. And then when I turned 30, I drew a lot of comics in my 20s too, but nothing was that good. When I turned 30, I had done enough that I was getting good enough where I'm like, I got to do a big project. I don't want to just keep putting around with little comic projects. I want to do one big one with a cool story that might have meaning for my life or whatever. So, because I'm 30 now. So that ended up being Earthbound. And I was looking at a script because that was originally a movie script I'd written, but I looked back, and you might be able to relate to this, but sometimes you'll look back and there's a lot of times you look back 3 months, 6 months, and you're like, oh, that sucked. What I wrote, like, that's terrible.
God, yeah. Earlier, I was watching a slasher movie. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, Earthbound was the first time I looked back, and I'm like, you know what? It's not so bad. I was 27 when I wrote that one.
Yeah. That's good. Often I find there's multiple forms of that. One of my favorites is when I'm not looking back, but I'm looking back without actually reading the script. I'm like, this scene wasn't that good. And there were times, I remember one time I was like, looking back actually in an earlier draft of Living Legends, and I was like, this is bad. And then I went look back and go, no, this is good. But then there are other times where I'm like, yeah, but I think the worst, though, I'm sure you know it, is the murdering your children, where you have a scene or a set of scenes or even characters where you're like, I really like this. And you're like, okay, this is eating up too much time. Why is this here? Like, I'm a big dialogue guy. I love writing dialogue. Mm-hmm. That, when you get a scene going between characters, 10 pages go like that, and it's like, you have to cut it down.
I know, especially for comics, because it's a little different for movies. Like, if you look at a Tarantino script, his scripts will be like 200 pages, and it's all dialogue, and they're talking, and it's got a flow, and it works. But yeah, for comics, if you're working with an artist or me, I just draw my own stuff usually. But you look at a 10-page dialogue, and you're like, okay, that might be whatever. If you cram it in, it might be 10 pages of comic, and then that's like 10 pages of just people talking. I don't want to do that. I'm like 5 pages max, and then that means the scene can be like 3 or 4 pages talking. But I'm still running into that problem because I kind of like writing a little bit more like movie style. Like I kind of like letting it breathe with a little longer conversations. And sometimes I'll treat myself because I'm my own artist. So like, all right, I am gonna.
Oh, that's good. Like, yeah, because I
am gonna draw some extra dialogue or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, if you're your own artist, that must be really liberating too. You don't have to worry about, because I'm looking at like, okay, and they deserve the money for the record, but you're looking at like how much you have to pay for each page and how much time. Now, granted, the good thing about hiring someone is that that's time they have to spend, and I could be on to the next thing. But you have to make sure you're considering all those things. And it is also the way you budget. I learned this, that every medium has its sort of budgets, in the sense it's 24-page, typically if you're doing an issue, though if you're crowdfunding, doesn't matter. But then you'll have, like, each page you have to limit within. How much can you contain within a panel? How much can you contain within that? So there's always going to be restrictions in the medium. And that's why I actually don't use screenwriting format for my comics. I don't know. Do you use it for yours?
Yeah, I do, but I know exactly what you're saying. But yeah, usually it'll go through a transitional extra step. So I'll always, first step is pretty much always just writing a screenplay. Mm-hmm. And then the big step after that, I do they're kind of scribbly, but they're detailed thumbnails of every page. So, and it might be like a 10-page script becomes like a 20-page comic, but
yeah, and you have to balance, like, because if you're the writer, it's like you're stepping right into the director's chair. If you're even if you're an artist too, I mean, you have to decide, like, okay, what's the shot gonna be? Shot, reverse shot. How are we doing this? Like,
and you can notate some of that with the script. That's like useful information. That is like, whether it's the trick I kind of do a fair amount of is if it's like off-screen dialogue or versus voiceover dialogue, because that'll sort of tell you like don't draw the person who's saying the line. Like, so if you're directing, it's hinting that this should be like a reaction shot, the equivalent of a movie where you're actually on the person who's listening, and then the bubble is just off panel. So I do a lot of that in the script form, and that sort of can help the visual design from a pretty early stage.
Which, in a way, it kind of does make you a better director. I was started writing comics, really writing it, because a lot of my ideas started as movie ideas, transitioned over. Now it's interesting. Now sometimes I think of things as comic ideas, but often I'll know like this is gonna just be a movie. It depends though, and I find that I mean, creating always feeds something, right? So, like, I found actually that my screenwriting background gave me a deeper appreciation for comics because I found there are things that, okay, there are things I can't do within the page, right? But there are things I can do. I think that, like, voiceovers are so much. And not to say, okay, there are examples. Like, my favorite movie is The Shawshank Redemption, right? That has voiceover. But like monologuing and narrating and stuff, I find generally can come across so much more naturally in a comic book than in a movie. Usually, there are exceptions, of course.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of avoid it pretty, yeah, with screenplays, but then I might allow it here and there with comics for sure. And then if you go back, it's like comics used to do it all the time,
All the time.
and it was kind of cool. Yeah, and it was like it works. You can go back and have nostalgia for that, and like they kind of got away from that, and that's a little more the style I do. Like my comics, a lot of them don't have voiceover, even it's just dialogue bubbles for a lot of it. But
Yeah, sometimes I do wonder if we should put thought bubbles back. Like I've been because I'm so in the screenwriter mindset, and I wonder
yeah,
if we got too far away. But then sometimes it is weird because show don't tell is absolutely a thing. But sometimes
yeah,
if you can't, it's better to have the information, even if it is a little ham-fisted, than not at all.
yeah, yeah. I read the novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is the
Oh,
Tarantino movie.
nice.
So he wrote his own novelization, and in that, it's kind of fun because he writes thoughts also in it, like they would be the equivalent of like dialogue bubbles or thought bubbles, and they are not in the movie. And it's funny because he writes them kind of like you would write dialogue. It's like, well, that's an awesome thought. Like he writes awesome dialogue. Like he also writes awesome thoughts. So I'm like, I allow it. Like this is so cool just to read what people are thinking, and that was inspirational to me to be like, oh, you could kind of do that in a comic. Just if it because sometimes like you're saying, if people are using thoughts for show don't tell purposes, that's kind of like dumb or whatever.
Hmm.
But the way Tarantino was doing it, it's almost like extended dialogue, but it's the shit people choose not to say. So like there's a part where Rick Dalton meets with Al Pacino, who's like his agent or whatever, and Rick first meets him, and he kind of has a stutter, and then of course Al Pacino he notices the stutter, but he doesn't say anything because that would be rude. But then you hear what he thinks, and he writes it in the book, and he goes, "Does this fucking guy have a stutter?"
See, yeah, that's another. There are always advantages and different ways to use different tools. Even like down to video games. Like I like the way. I'd love to ideally write something in like almost every medium that I can. Novels, like I remember writing a short story. And what I like about novels, you could really just pour your brain out. You can go on these tangents that go, what the fuck was that? But then it's artsy. It's kind of like Tarantino's dialogue. They spend so much time talking about shit that has nothing to do with the plot, but you kind of just
Yeah,
forgive it. Like, what is the like whole El Royale with cheese? Like that has no relevance to the plot at
yeah.
all. But
I know, and that thing too. It's interesting because they are building tension because there's some subtext, and it's like you're just kind of at that point. It's kind of funny. It's so simple, but you're just wondering where they're driving and what they're up to because you're like they're wearing suits and stuff. And then when they pull the shotguns out of the back of the truck, then it's really he's really got you by that point. And they continue to just talk about like foot massages and stuff. And he even kind of does a joke because they get to the door and then they're like, "There's still some time." And they keep walking and they keep talking. So he knows he's got you. But yeah, that that would like be there in a comic. Like the subtext would be there, but it wouldn't work as good. And you'd notice like if you converted, that would literally be like 30 at least pages of comic of them just getting to the door to shoot
yeah.
people. And that's like I don't know if people would stand for that. They'd be like, "What the fuck's going on here?"
Yeah, another thing too is tone, and this is a similar thing. I've noticed it not just honestly through text conversations. I'm sure everyone's had this where you say something over text that totally gets misconstrued, And it's the same thing with you reading a comic. Like, okay, yeah, you could have them draw motions, but the nuances and how something is said can totally get lost on the page. Uh, there's always so many things to consider.
Yeah, it's different because like actors do bring a ton to it, and that's kind of one of my favorite art forms is what actors do. I really like listening to interviews when they talk about their character and stuff, and it's kind of like the most like alchemy. And it's kind of like a little magical what really good actors do, and it's a little bit different than writing. It's kind of almost more special, but it's more specialized too. So it can't do some of the broad, cool stuff that writers can do. But comics doesn't deal with that at all. So I don't know, like you can kind of simulate it just a little bit, like when you're in the zone. Sometimes if you have a simple scene, a lot of times simplicity can help it. But if it gets a little bit more like the story is just about simple survival rather than a crazy complex plot where certain things have to happen just to continue the plot, like once it gets simple, then you can kind of ask yourself, well, what would they do in this situation? And you can really think about it. And then it can get some of that a little more like the Tarantino style stuff can come up.
So I have a question then, because we've talked a lot about filmmaking and all of that. I really do got to dive into film more, but I'm a fan of so many goddamn things. I could keep going forever, and maybe I should. But I have a question though. Like, what is your favorite movie, or do you have any couple favorites?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so for favorites, it's funny. I think I do have one, and sometimes at a certain point, it can just become a identity, like a quick answer. And because this happens with music with me, is I'll listen to something and it'll be my quote unquote favorite. I'll listen to it so much that I actually kind of start to hate it, and then I'll never listen to it again.
Oh.
Like that happens over and over again with music, but with movies, that can sort of happen. But the one that it kind of hasn't happened, and it's become almost like a comfort movie to me, and it's a very big inspiration for my writing actually, but it's the original Dawn of the Dead from, I believe it's from 1979.
I think it's 78 because I think it was a year, 10 years after.
Yeah, maybe 78. Yeah, and that one I've said this on other streams before, but that the writing style of that it's that the strategy is the story, and that's kind of like a simple thing. Like the plot is almost like a D&D campaign. Like the plot is like, okay, zombie apocalypse happened. We're at a news broadcast station. What do we do? Well, my friend can hook it up with a helicopter. So meet us there. I'm going to get one person who's important to me, and we're going to go. Then they get on the helicopter and they go. They have a little like tension there because some other people might want to go, and they kind of square off. Then they go, and then it's like, well, they're out of gas. So they have to get gas. And then it's like, well, let's land on this mall. And then they actually have a moment within the plot that's kind of fun because it has no setups, but it makes perfect sense in hindsight, which is like one thing I really like in storytelling when because setups and payoffs, they're always predictable on some level, even though they're pretty cool and they can be clever. But this one, it's just like a moment of improv from the characters, like a D&D campaign would be, but they're at the mall and they're like, you know what? It's crazy out there, and this mall actually isn't so bad. Maybe we should just stay. And they're like, okay. So the whole movie like kind of turns on this new idea from that point that they're going to try and stay at the mall. So I love that kind of stuff where that's kind of the plot. And I'm a little bit better at that kind of writing where it's just like you're thinking about the characters, what they want to do, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead is a great one. Day of the Dead is good too. Obviously, Night of the Living Dead, which is totally public domain. So I'm definitely going to host a watch party of that at some point.
Oh, cool. I'd join up. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead is super inspirational too because it's kind of almost like a play. Like it's very minimalist. It all takes place in one house, and that's a good. I don't know if you've ever done that. That's a fun exercise to like try and tell a story in one location. That's like a filmmaking thing, like it's actually freaking hard to do.
That's good too.
But yeah.
All right, yeah, I might do that. I always, even in my smaller ideas, I'm always like, and this is why I think I kind of gravitated towards comics, is because, and don't get me wrong, I'm still gonna do film, but it's like, even my smaller ideas, still I end up, just because I can't help myself, end up becoming bigger and bigger, because I'm like, oh, well, maybe this character, his backstory involves this, and I have to be like, stop it, nope,
Yeah.
this is your scale, this is your budget. Like, I had to raise, and this is without paying us as the crew, like over $4,000, and barely paying the actors just to shoot like a short film that's set in one location.
Yeah.
It's like the amount, because you think of things like how much you have to pay. People don't realize how much goes into like, and I'm not discrediting how much an artist has to draw, but like the amount of people that need to literally just light a scene, or make sure, or all the little things you don't think about when you're writing a script, and then when you put the producer hat on, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, because if you have like another location, then that's a whole nother day of getting all that shit figured out and stuff. So,
Oh my god!
and a lot of times those limitations make you be more creative, and they make you employ like more of the classical dramatic kind of stuff, like if it's suspense or paranoia or whatever, and that can make up improving it more anyway too.
So we're talking about things set in one location. I know which I, by the way, I didn't know. I had a feeling you were a horror guy. By the way, well, is Dawn of the Dead horror? I don't know. Not really, I guess. Horror.
I'd say it is. I mean, it has gore as far as horror gore. It has like lots of gore.
Well, but like so does a lot of movies have gore. That, by the way, I didn't finish it yet. Some of the most brutal gore I have ever seen. Have you ever seen Terrifier?
Yeah.
Dude,
Only recently.
I watched it. I watched Terrifier 2 at a film festival months ago. And for some reason, I was just starting Terrifier, but I was tired, so I didn't finish it last night. But it got to this one death scene where I'm like, they're not going to go there. They're going there.
I know
they're
exactly.
going there. You know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's like, there's no way they're going to show that. I'm like,
Yeah, that was crazy.
I wouldn't. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of that. I think I have my limits. I'm a sick fuck. I love Mortal Kombat. I love fatalities. But there's a few things where I'm like, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about if I want to try and watch some of the Saw movies, because I actually fallen off. I've only seen like Saw 1, I think. But yeah, I generally don't like the torture porn stuff. But then I'm like, I can kind of, if I'm in the right mood, it can be kind of fun sometimes.
But
it's
that
definitely
was beyond, though. In Terrifier.
Yeah.
I was like,
and that one too, people were saying it's torture porn, so then I didn't watch it. But then someone else said, no, it's really fun. And I'm like, oh, it's fun? I like horror movies that are fun. So then I did watch it. And I was like, up until 30 minutes, I was like, dude, this is totally fun. And then that happened. I'm like, oh my God, it's exactly what people warned me about.
It was like, I was like watching that scene and I was like, stop, no.
Yeah.
So, Terrifier 2, have you seen Terrifier 2?
Yeah, I liked that one too.
I mean,
that one, that one people, I guess people maybe don't like it as much. I don't know, but it's great. It's kind of fun for a sequel. It like expands. It's kind of weird. It's long too. It's 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I mean, so far I'd say I like the second one better. Again, I do need to. I hate stopping mid movie, but I did, and then I had work to do today. But yeah, I think. I mean, I'm a big horror guy. I'm a big, Halloween. That one's my favorite. Let's see. It's got a lineup on camera. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Carpenter. I love Carpenter.
Listen, if it has gratuitous female nudity, watch it. That's my stance. I don't think you'd like the nudity where it goes in Terrifier.
Yeah.
I'll say that. It's
What about there's a similar kind of kill in Bone Tomahawk. You ever seen that one?
I haven't seen Bone Tomahawk. I've heard it's phenomenal.
It's great. That's another one that's surprisingly simple. Like when they make a movie, I don't know, like I kind of really enjoyed how simple the plot was, and it works really well.
I love Kurt Russell. He's great in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. Noah always the contrarian.
Bone Tomahawk is okay.
Noah's
jealous because he's not as much of the Great White Hope as you. You're the Great White Hope of CG.
Oh, is that it? Is that it? Yeah, he's always got like, he'll be talking to like industry professionals like he knows more than them, and I'm like, no.
That's funny.
All right, so we hotel story. You mentioned you like stories that are set in one place. So is this all set in a hotel? The whole story?
It is. This all takes place in one hotel over one night. And yeah, a couple of my stories have been like that. It is a little bit harder. Cerberus is like a little bit more limited, but it has that one. Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 or 5 locations, but which actually is starting to get up there, I guess. But yeah, just one location, one night, and it's like a horror movie. Though specifically the horror movies it's like is Dead Alive. I don't know if you remember that one, Peter Jackson, early 90s. The super gory, almost comedy. But I like some of these, the horror where Evil Dead 2 is like this too, where the gore is a little bit funny, but it's not like the kind of Marvel comedy that destroys the stakes. Like just having the gore be crazy can be funny, but the stakes can actually stay pretty high. So Hotel Story is kind of fun like that. Like it is like life and death, and it gets kind of ratcheting up more and more intense of what the people can do to survive. This is another one that's kind of a simple story, which the witch casts a mass sacrifice spell, and that plays out. So like she's trying to sacrifice the entire hotel. The spell kind of brainwashes a ton of people all at once, and then but a few people get missed, and they're trying to escape, and that's basically the plot.
Okay, so it's like this witch is casting a spell in a hotel to mass sacrifice and mind controlling people. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That kind of reminds me of. It's not as much mass sacrifice, but there is an X-Men storyline. You guys know I love me my X-Men. Inferno, where they're kind of trying to merge dimensions, so they turn New York all demonic. That one's good. And then another one that I haven't seen the original, but Suspiria. Have you seen Suspiria?
Oh, that's like a top
That sounds
five
like a
for me.
Narwhal movie. Okay,
I love that
I
movie.
knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew you'd, I didn't. I wasn't that. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but I thought it was so fucking slow.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you,
Slow.
one way to look at it is picture it like it's a Disney movie about a princess in a castle, because that's like what it is. And I think he did that on purpose, Argento. And then there's some structural things that are awesome too. Like it's awesome that she actually doesn't care. She's sort of not the protagonist for the actual plot until like either halfway or 2/3 through the movie. It's her best friend is like, she's not the main character, but she's the main protagonist for the actual plot. She's the one investigating. And then when she dies, then the main character steps in. And I'm like, that's like really cool structure. So
Yeah. That's really interesting. I need to. I just thought it was so. I thought it was too much. Almost. It was. Listen, and you seem like an artsy kind of guy with your films. So Dawn of the Dead does. Yeah, that actually does make sense. You know what I love? I love also the Gonk song. You know the mall song in Dawn of the Dead.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? I play that every once in a while. I'll play that. It's just I don't know. It fits so well.
You
Romero's
know,
a genius.
one trick I learned from Dawn of the Dead too that's kind of awesome is it's shot on sticks is what they call it, which means like nothing but tripods. The cameras never move. Sometimes
Oh,
they'll zoom and
really?
pan. Yeah, they can zoom and pan, but they'll never float. There's no steady camera handheld. And so the cameras are, it's kind of pretty choppy, cutting around a lot, and which is actually a kind of cool look. But it's actually a little bit like Resident Evil in that way, like the way Resident Evil is like same thing. It's like shot on sticks everywhere you move, and they want that location. One of the important parts of the story is for you to kind of get an orientation within the mall. So what George Romero did is he actually used one camera angle for each specific part of the mall. And if they enter, just like Resident Evil, so if they enter that part of the mall, he used that camera angle. So he used repeat camera angles. He wasn't trying to be like, now we'll shoot from here. Now we'll shoot from here. He's like, no, they're in this part of the mall. We're going to shoot it from this angle. And it's always that angle. And that gets the viewer, just like if you're playing Resident Evil, you get acclimated and you understand the environment more, and it helps the story. And I steal that from my comics. I repeat angles a lot if I'm trying to get the reader to get oriented within the environment.
That's cool. I didn't realize that's really interesting. I'll have to look at it again that way. I mean, there's so much to like about that movie. Really, I'm definitely big into that. I like. Wait, what was this? So you mentioned D&D, which I've never played. I've always wanted to get into it, but I haven't. And now, what is Pathfinder is like what like D&D? Because I know Greenie and
That's
Alex
what Reenie's
VRB,
into, right?
yeah, and Alex VRB are into that.
Yeah.
And I don't get it, but I also don't get D&D. Is it the same? Is it just like the same shit with the different? They'll probably yell at me if I
Yeah,
say it's
I
the
don't
same shit.
particularly
but it sounds
know
the
either.
same to me.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
because
you
I
referenced D&D earlier.
I
Compared
know
it
I'm
to
not,
D&D.
and I'm not an expert. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering as a kid, but the thing is, I just know what D&D's like. It's like your
Oh, okay.
improv. It's like improv storytelling, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah,
But
my knowledge is all. I wouldn't even say secondhand. I guess like almost like third hand. And then, yeah, that's. But I don't know that stuff well. But I know you mentioned some video games like Resident Evil, which is almost.
yeah, not huge, but well, actually, yeah. Like I don't know. Like I played a lot as a kid. These days, I still kind of have an addiction for video games, but I just throw it on in the background while I'm drawing. So I watch Let's Plays. So I kind of will stay up on the scene with video games. But yeah, Resident Evil, it pretty much is my favorite game, and that seeped into my identity a little bit. Like if I ever could get the rights, I would want to do a comic, and because it has, I have the warm memories of playing that game kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those I've heard are great. I know they at least 1 through 4. I know people have mixed thoughts on some of the other ones after. Did people like the latest one with the really tall girl that everyone was memeing about?
Oh yeah, well, that was number 8.
Yeah, it was 8.
Yeah, they're saying it's, but the thing is, it's first person, which I kind of not as into. But then they did a third person mod, so and I kind of like that. But yeah, and they're avoiding the iconic characters, but they're kind of creating some new sort of iconic characters. So it's all good. But yeah, I like the old stuff the best. The original Resident Evil 4 is probably like the coolest, which is, and that's a little different than even the really old stuff, which is also awesome. But
That's dope. Yeah, Resident Evil 4, I know people love. So we go ahead. I just want to play this trailer real quick and keep talking.
cool.
Here we go.
Is the audio? Can you guys hear it? It starts
Yeah,
quiet.
make sure we can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it. Cool. Yeah, me and Jared animated this. Jared's the co-creator, by the way. He drew the whole book, so.
Yeah, you guys are very
Synthesize.
First.
Yeah.
You must be hamming it up for a big tip.
Sin, the, size. 3 simple syllables. They may not mean much to you now, but by the end of this night, they will.
There's a witch in this hotel. My mission is to stop her. Could mean certain doom for many if she completes her spell.
We're bringing that knowledge back with us to the real world. But we're giving it a special touch.
I've seen this so many times that I can say it by heart.
Don't suppose I know you.
Adrian,
You're a famous party pooper.
at your service.
Yeah, so that guy at the end, that's a dead body that the liminal angel inhabits. So that's the one other kind of element of the story is like, it's almost like cops and robbers. There's like angels are the good guys and they're like the FBI. So they can only, part of her spell is to hold them out, but they can send one guy in and he's trying to stop her. And he could potentially stop her just by killing everyone in the hotel because then she wouldn't be able to sacrifice them. But then he'd kind of be a bad guy too. So he like doesn't want to do that.
That's really cool, man. I like what are your biggest inspirations for this particular story? Were there any you pulled from?
Yeah, I mean it's a little more movies than comics, but specifically Dead Alive, which I mentioned, Evil Dead 2, and one other that probably the biggest is Demons 2, which is actually another Italian. Speaking of Suspiria, Demons 2 is an Italian movie. But what that one is like stand out for is because it all takes place in a apartment complex, so not a hotel, but an apartment complex. And the basic structure is this kind of thing where chaos kind of erupts.
Do I have to see Demons 1 to understand Demons 2?
No, they're very similar. The Demons 1 is great too, and maybe potentially better. But Demons 2 is kind of fun, really fun, because it takes place at a big apartment complex. But then the structure is like they'll follow like about 10 characters, and the audience loves some, hates some. Some of the ones that you hate, you're rooting for them to die, and they keep living. So you're getting like teased and like, entertained that way. Where you're like, God, would you just freaking die? And then some guys you're rooting for them to survive, and they're dying, and you're like, no, that guy didn't make it. And you're just cutting in between all the plots. It's like an ensemble movie. You're seeing who's gonna live, who's gonna die, and then again, it kind of goes back to that thing that I like, where it's the strategy is the story. So it's just like, what are they going to do to survive? They're going to figure something out. They got various plans they can enact. They can team up or whatever, alliances, that kind of stuff.
Dope, man. It's really cool. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to checking this out. I got to look into that. Have you seen Wreck, by the way?
No, Greg?
REC, Wreck. It's a Spanish movie. It's all set. I think it's like there's, what are they, zombies or what the fuck were they? But it's like found footage, but it's not. It's good.
Oh no, I want to see that. REC. I was hearing
1 and 2 are
WRECK. No, I want to see Wreck.
Wreck 1 and 2 are good. I haven't seen anything after that, so I can't tell you. But it kind of leads directly into the other, which I like when movies do that. Like that's why I like, as flawed as Halloween 2 is, I like that it leads directly from, like, literally the opening scene of Halloween 2 is the ending of Halloween 1. I do like when movies do that.
Yeah, that's cool. Bride of Frankenstein did that too. I mean,
I didn't know that. I've only seen Frankenstein. I loved it when I was little. I haven't seen it since I was in preschool. I want to. And then Bride of Frankenstein I've never seen, and I know I need to. Same goes for Nosferatu. I was actually, what's thinking, because I already have a million ideas I want to write, and I don't know if you ever have this where you're like, dude, just pick one. And I'm about to start one. I'm like, maybe I'll write this, and then I spend like an hour doing that, and then just go, I'm out of time.
I know. No, I have that problem too. It's just like if you're scrolling Netflix to find a movie to watch,
yeah, and you just don't. Decide. You just go on your phone for like an hour.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll pull up a document and I'll be like, I'll resign myself to failure at working on one project, which is always nice. That's kind of the most productive. But I'll be like, all right, I can tell my brain is being weird, and all right, I'm still gonna, and I'll just pull up the document and I'll be like, all right, I'm just going to make a list of all the stuff that I want to write. And that's kind of like more almost like fun, but it's not that useful. Fun,
but I mean, all right. So it seems like it's all universal. We always are like, everyone else writes and it's like, no. And then we all as writers talk and we're like, no, we all do this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was this one slasher movie. I wrote my first full feature script that I finished was a slasher movie. I wrote like 2 drafts. I'm like, I have all these new ideas, but I'm like, do I want to go back to that one yet? I'm always intended on it or not, but it's just there's always something to do, and I think horror in general is very creative. There's so much creative stuff you could do. So is this a horror story?
Yeah, but it's like horror. It's not like super scary, but it's like gory, and it's about witches and demons, and so it's like horror in that respect.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I mean, because I'm big into that. It seems like you are too. Let's see, you know what's funny? Evil Dead 2, maybe it's just because I loved Evil Dead. Love it. I love that movie. I've seen it twice. I loved it just as much as second time. Actually, it was one of those, do you ever have like those movies when you were little where it's like something pops on the TV that you're not supposed to be watching, but like you can't look away? Because that happened with Evil Dead.
Cool.
I didn't know what the movie was for years until I was getting into horror when I was in high school. And I saw the trailer and I was like, oh my God, that's the movie. For years, I didn't know what it was.
Nice.
It was like, because seeing as a kid, like him having to cut up his own girlfriend, and then that iconic ending scene where he turns and screams and the camera attacks him. Because I'm like, movies aren't supposed to end like that. As a kid, you're like, what? And so then I watched Evil Dead, loved it. Evil Dead 2, I was like expecting it to be a sequel, and then it's like a reboot, and I'm like, what? And then it becomes a comedy. So I don't think I appreciated Evil Dead 2 because I was like, what? My friends and I watched Evil Dead, and the next day we watched Evil Dead 2, and we're like, what the fuck is happening? So I've never seen Army of Darkness yet either. I know I need to.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, but it depends. Yeah, going into it, it's your mindset. If you watch it again in a different mindset, you probably will love it. But
I thought
it's like
Evil
the expectations.
Dead 2 safely Evil Dead 2 would be a sequel.
Yeah,
it's like not really.
It's like a reboot almost before there were reboots.
Because it's like a recap of the original, but it's like not accurate. So I'm like, what?
Yeah, and they claim like it actually is a sequel, and that's funny because it just means he actually did bring another girl out to the exact same cabin.
Yeah, wait, that's a good point. Wait, what?
Yeah, but they laugh about that. Like they are joking, but they're serious. Like Sam Raimi, they do cool director commentary stuff on all their DVDs. Those are cool creators. Sam Raimi obviously went on to do Spider-Man and stuff.
Oh yeah,
pretty famous.
Yeah, no, I know Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is probably one of my favorite movies. It's probably what jump-started my superhero craze. It's one of the things that jump-started my superhero craze and my love for storytelling, too. That first Sam Raimi. I know everyone says Spider-Man 2 is better. I do like Spider-Man 2. I have less nostalgia. I still have nostalgia for Spider-Man 2. It might have even been the first one I saw. But I watched the first one many more times, so I like that one more. But I do love both. But so we got Hotel Story is how many pages?
It'll be 124, and we're adding a scene, so
Holy
it might
shit.
get up to 128 or so.
Holy shit.
But it's done, which is nice, but it's just kind of, we want it to be available for multiple months, get their chance to back it. It's definitely like a pretty big prestige Narwhal release. It's like a big epic tale that I'm really looking forward to sharing and people checking out. and we're working on part 2 now. With the two of them combined, it'll be like almost 300 pages, graphic novel. Kind of like watching a movie when you read it. A lot of my comics are like that, and I do try don't always like succeed, or doesn't always work this way, but I try to design them specifically to be read in one sitting, or be able to be read in one sitting if you wanted to do it that way. So they kind of have pretty good narrative drive, good structure. A lot of that's like from the screenwriting kind of stuff, but
That's good. Yeah, that's why I hate stopping movies. Like, but I was like, I'm tired. And even certain comics like mid issue, I try never to stop mid issue. I don't always succeed, but as I like to. I know a writer typically part of it's my OCD, but part of it is also it's paced a certain way for a reason, and it's like I want to respect that. That's another aspect of writing too. Is again page turns is another thing.
yeah.
There's so many aspects. People don't realize that just writing a comic, there's so many aspects. Now imagine drawing it helps, but you didn't draw this one, which I didn't realize, because this guy has a very similar style to you.
Yeah, we're kind of on the same spectrum. We're both super autistic. No, just kidding.
I did think that when you said it, and I was like, what? No, I'll reserve it.
But yeah, like we have
all?
kind of a similar style. And then Jared, he's like a legit cartoonist. Like I really enjoy what he brings to it and the characters, and because we kind of teamed up, that made it a little bit more of the workflow is like more like an animation kind of style. And so like we had a lot of design went into the characters, the environment, that kind of stuff. That even the comic itself, it's a style I do on my comics here and there. I've multiple like Foreign Agent was like this, the new Earthbound Grand Prix, but it's kind of a form of like what animation does with collage, where the background is kind of a different medium than the characters. So the characters pop out just from that. And we've been using low poly 3D backgrounds for the environment, and then we draw the characters as cells over the top, which kind of emulates that animation feel, which I've kind of always, I don't know why, but I've always been gravitating towards that just since I was a kid. Even I like animation, even if it's like flat and not moving, I still like how it looks. Like I like it a little bit, even though it's less detailed. I just really like it, so I always go for that with my style usually.
Dope. That's good shit, man. That's good shit. I was looking at this, and it says part 1 of 2. That's right.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's like the way Kill Bill is split. It's kind of like that. Like there's there's two big fights
You're
kind
such
of between.
an artiste, man. Just the it's like Kill Bill. It's like, I love it.
Yeah, that's funny.
So
But yeah, I know. I got
more
into
like-
trouble because I was saying that it's a fully contained story, and then there's part 2, which kind of is a contradiction. And I got some feedback from one editor, and he's like, "That's actually not true. Like, it's not a complete story." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." But it's like more
You have
complete
an editor,
than.
so?
Yeah, I work with
That's
Blake. Blake, what's his last name? Shoot, I can't think of it. If he's from the Splintering, I was gonna say Blake Edwards. I'm like, that's not it. That's like the director of Pink Panther. But Blake's great, and yeah. So, but it's just like it's more of a complete thing. Like it builds to a big confrontation between the good guys and the bad guys, and they have their fight, and then they kind of go back to lick their wounds, and they start their new plans, and that's the end of the book. So in that way, it's kind of a complete story, but nothing is resolved. A lot of questions aren't answered. Like they definitely have to fight again. So in that sense, there's more to go. But it also is a little bit more of a kind of complete meal as a comic than even like Cerberus. Like some of the feedback I got with Cerberus or even Earthbound, people are like, you could almost take it as a compliment, but you kind of shouldn't as well. But they'll be like, "Oh, my only complaint was that it ended so abruptly. I can't wait for part 2." And you're like, "Cool." But you're like, "No, actually, that's a slight structural problem. Like you want it to feel a little bit complete." Yeah.
No, I totally. So you have, and these prices are great too. What is the Obel?
Yeah, that's Jared's solo book, 48-page haunting horror story. And that's just like a really cool book I really liked. So it's kind of the bonus book on the campaign. You can kind of get the Jared 1-2 punch. It's a little bit functioning. It's kind of this big cool debut for him. I've been working with him for like 10 years, and he colored Cerberus. So he's been my go-to partner on a lot of things. We're working on animation behind the scenes together. We're co-writing some stuff together. he's a real jack of all trades and like super talented. And yeah, the Opal's great. Like I just really, really liked it. And so it's published too, and people can get it. There's some art there, so you kind of know what to expect. It's a little Silent Hilly. Like the horror is more of the haunting type, and everything he does too. There's a twinge of humor, but again, it's so interesting because it doesn't take away. It's not like the Marvel kind of thing that takes away from the stakes. It's kind of just like this little offbeat. I don't know if you could say it's like almost. It's not, I was almost going to say like Wes Anderson, but without all the style, but just the way, like Harold and Maude. Again, like whatever. These are weird references.
Harold and Maude is a fucking weird movie.
Yeah. So some of Jared's
That is
shit's it's like weird in like a really cool way.
That is a weird movie. Man, yeah, I remember watching that in film school. Did you go to? I forget if I asked you this. You went to film school or?
No, at first I went to animation school, but I dropped out pretty quick because it was too expensive, and it was just the Art Institute. And that one too, they'll take anyone, and you can just pay to get in. And it was a lot of rich kids who couldn't draw. And then I was even better. I wasn't even that good back then. I just out of high school because that's funny too. I graduated in 2005, and the internet wasn't super crazy. It was just that was like even Facebook was just getting started around then. But yeah, check. Can you guys see my house guests?
I can see him. Yeah, guys, check him out.
Oh shit! Thanks. He served
Is
me
that
something.
sweet potatoes?
Yeah, dude,
That's
it's
hot. You could see the
super-
steam off there, man. Holy
super
shit.
tasty. Now I'm gonna let it cool a little bit. It smells really good. Thank you, slave. But
Dude, you
Um,
raised a shitload with this project too. 14K, goddamn.
yeah, and it's still in demand, and yeah, we want to get higher if possible, but that's always grateful, of course, for everything. And yeah, what was I saying? Anything I kind of forget, but
I don't remember.
yeah. But
Shit, though.
Deli says, "Is that Jason Voorhees?" Yeah, it's Halloween.
Yeah, no, Jason from part 2.
Yeah, dim-witted chicken. That was scary.
There we go. All this, check these. This is great. I also the making of book. How many pages is the making of book? Because I'm gonna do that for my first comic for sure. I have so much concept art. And
Yeah, nice.
So much I want to say that because writing is about condensing, and I'm like, well, I want to go into it. Obviously, I'll go in a bunch of interviews, but I want to gush on the page some of my creative process. So how much?
It'll be 64 pages, and yeah, we kind of wrote it as almost via email, just back and forth, like hundreds of emails. So we have all those emails, so I'm going to be sharing a lot of those. I've done that in the past with your boy Zach. A couple of your boy Zach projects will have like 12 to 16 pages of behind the scenes stuff, and it's pretty fun. You can kind of find the narrative of the story being found within the emails, and that's like, especially for anyone who's like a little extra interested, that's like really good stuff, pretty fascinating. So we have all that, and I'm like, we can do it. We'll do it a little bit bigger, like bigger and better and funner, and so it's a cool book in its own right.
That's really cool. Yeah, I might have to do that with some messages I've got with my writer or my artist, but I'm gonna have to scroll back a lot. I mean, that's gonna be a lot of.
I know that's part of it. I had to do that. I screen capped hundreds of emails from going back 2 years.
Hundreds of emails because that's not as instant. I feel like that's got to be like at least the messages. It's quicker.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm looking at this a narwhal joint. Nice.
Yeah.
There we go. This is great. Do you have any favorite artists you pull from too?
Yeah, a lot of it was a little when I was younger, and then now I'm not even exactly sure, but definitely as I was like learning, I was super into Tim Sale, who did Long Halloween and that
course,
cool
yeah.
inky, and he has a little bit of an animation kind of. He does the thin ink line that I like, and then I like a lot of the European kind of artists, and I like Capcom art. Is another this Capcom house style. Everyone kind of knows it, but I think it's Bangus is like a Capcom artist, and he did all the art for Marvel vs. Capcom. He's like maybe my favorite artist. I just always look at that stuff to get inspiration. And then Bengal is a dude in France who's a cool comic artist. I think I'm not, unless I'm mixing them up. But yeah, Bengus and Bengal are like two of my most influential artists that I've
Nice.
taken inspiration from.
And what about some of your favorite writers?
Yeah, I really loved uh, Brian K. Vaughan from. I read Why the Last Man, and I just loved it. But what's funny is tried to reread it, and it was kind of cringy. It was like I didn't realize I was,
Really?
but it was in. It kind of takes place in a world where all Republicans are stupid and all Democrats are angels and really smart or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you get that right away, that vibe. And I was like, oh, like it just makes me want to puke. And it's not true like that. Like if anything, just do a universe where they're both idiots, and that would be like more true.
Yeah,
But
it was it very slanted.
yeah, it just feels like he's got his own blind spots that I wasn't aware of because I had those blind spots. And then once you get red pilled, then some if they're like kind of like in certain ways they're like a dumb liberal, even if that's like kind of inconsequential a little bit. Like the story itself is still pretty great, but that stuff was still kind of bugging me when I took another look.
Yeah, I mean
But
that's the thing is when you're too overly preachy, like a slant is everyone has a slant when they well generally speaking when they write. When it's too preachy or it's just not conducive with reality or it's not believable, I find it can be a problem.
yeah,
I've never read that one, but now I can't tell if that's a recommend or not. I don't even think you know. Is that a recommend or no?
yeah, I can't decide myself. I don't even know. They tried to make it a TV show, but and it's like kind of feminist or whatever. It was like written, I don't know, 2012 or 2010 or whatever. But they try to make it a TV show, and things are so woke right now that they can't even make it a TV show because it's all about. It hinges on chromosomes.
Oh,
It's like the mysterious event that kills everyone with a Y chromosome is like the plot, basically, the setup. And yeah, like modern woke people are like, gender is not science based; it is socially based. So whatever. They like they retconned a ton of stuff and ruined his story, and it bombed because they did try and make it a TV show, but because it is kind of considered a classic. But
that's interesting. So that's okay. That's so I didn't know it was that. So you did. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot. Because I've from fucking Hard Chargers. It's been Cloud Strife this whole time. I didn't even realize that. It's Vaughn Coleman presents. God damn it.
I called you Cloud Strife right away.
Well, because I thought it was like, because you saw my costumes. I didn't realize. It's the whole interview.
No.
It's been just
I don't
Cloud.
stalk you. I don't know what you do.
Oh, I just assumed because you saw. I would have never. I'm so. Anyway, we're gonna ignore that.
The world doesn't revolve around you, Vaughn. Just kidding. I don't.
Ah,
I'm just
shit. This whole time, I thought I was the protagonist. Everyone was supporting characters or antagonists. Yeah, damn. That's all right. I might cry after the stream, but that's fine. No, but I'm just fucking with you. All right, so we got this is really cool. So 120. So is the next part gonna be 120 pages around?
Yeah, it might be a little bit longer even. But
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
around there.
Why the Last Man is one of my favorite comic book runs ever. Yeah, maybe I'll check that out. I didn't know
Nice.
that was the reason the show got canceled. Is that true?
Well, I didn't even follow it that closely, but yeah, I think they had to retcon a bunch of stuff, and then they were changing the plot to try and appease the woke people, and then kind of nobody cared, and it kind of just was a dud.
That sucks. Unfortunate, but you can't. That's what happens when you appease the wrong people. So
Yeah.
okay. So that's some of your favorite. One of your favorite comics then is Why the Last Man.
Yeah, and maybe that's the only one I gave. Another big influence for writers is Frank Miller. He was kind of one of the first that I read when I kind of made a conscious decision to get into comics. His name obviously comes up right away,
Oh, yeah.
and I've read almost all his stuff pretty much, and I love all
Any
his
favorites? Because I know we're gonna go. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna definitely get a group together to go through his Daredevil run. And
Yeah,
Ronin.
no, Daredevil's my favorite. It is.
Oh, really?
It's the most recent thing I've read though, too. So it kind of just works like that.
Oh, when did you read it?
Well, I haven't even read all of it yet. I haven't even read like all the Elektra saga. I read Born Again, and then a little bit later he did like the graphic novel it's just called The Man Without Fear,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like based off a movie script that he
You know
wrote.
what, Narwhal? It sounds like you need to look at my reading order video. I think.
Yeah.
Born
Yeah,
Again
no, actually-
first. You don't start with Born Again. You end with Born Again.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
But yeah, so I'm gonna keep dabbling and reading more Daredevil because it is amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna go through that. But that's his Daredevil stuff is great. 300, of course. That's when you could read all in one sitting.
Yeah.
Year One, Dark Knight. There's plenty more I have to read, but it's just, I mean, that many hits that he just put out. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, you know what's kind of cool that he did too is he kind of rose to the top and then kind of got bored, reinvented himself, rose to the top again. And I don't know if he did pretty much maybe just twice he did it. But
Yeah, I don't think
that's
he did
like
it a third time, but
yeah, I mean but you know like Michael Jordan did that. All the greats do crazy stuff like that. Like they get bored being the best, so they like change everything and then they become the best again and you're like, how did you do that?
mm-hmm. But if you do it even once, I mean, that's already something to be proud of for sure. You got some. Definitely make sure to check out Hotel Story. Do you have a website or anything, or no?
No, I will soon. I'm launching a eBay store for people to catch up on my old books because I have like, I don't know, like 10 or something have been released now. And it's hard to offer them on every campaign because it gets too ungainly.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be the place for people to go to catch up on my old stuff if they've missed it and want to get some Narwhal stuff.
All right, so definitely make sure to check that out. Yeah, that's one of the. I mean, making sure things are always available because I definitely want to check out all your stuff, especially after. I mean, I love talking to you about writing and stuff, and it is great. Like one of the things I like about being the fifth wheel of the creative block, as I'll say, is I like hearing you guys talk, and then reading some of your guys' work. I think. Phil's. Who did I read first? Because Jake's, I've read some of his stuff that he sent me. I've read the stuff you did with your boy Zach, but I don't think I've read any of your work yet. So I'm really excited to.
Yeah, and those are kind of two separate things. Yeah.
Your work I've read your emails.
Yeah, nice.
Your boy Zach.
Yeah,
that's about it.
I'm proud of those.
You put a lot of.
I'm a good emailer.
Cool.
Actually,
good.
I might be considered a bad emailer. You know who's kind of a bad emailer though?
Who?
Your boy Zach he's kind of a bad emailer actually.
What
like,
makes
legit.
for a good or bad emailer?
Well, for him it's just kind of funny. He sort of uses it like texts. So he'll send a 1-sentence email and then he'll get another thought, send another. So he'll get a thread of 15 emails and you have to click through them all and read them one sentence at a time. I'm like, dude, just send one email with a paragraph. What are you doing?
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
You didn't listen. That's okay.
No, I did listen. No, that's one paragraph. Sorry, no,
Okay.
something came up. No, yeah, one paragraph. I mean, I think that's weird. Like an email. So with email, I almost feel like, is it okay to just say a couple words? Like that's why with text, I write a lot. If you'll notice, I write kind of how I talk, I guess. You know, sometimes.
Yeah, you're a pretty good talker, whatever.
Oh,
You're getting better too. You're starting young. That's why you're the great white hope. By the time you're 30, 35, you're going to be a great. And then you got to help me out. I'll be old by then.
All right. Well, you're not that much older than me. What are you, 30?
I'm 37.
You're 37?
Yeah, so I might be 15 years older than you or something like
shit.
that.
I didn't know that.
I'm the length that I'm older than you is like a small child, a middle-aged child. Yeah.
I didn't know that. You look good, man. Looking good. So,
yeah, the trick is to just bathe in rivers.
Oh, bathe in rivers. Okay, I'll have to. I do live not that far from a river, but I don't think I'll be bathing in it though. I think
If you want
to shower.
Okay, it's your funeral.
Wow. Jimmy's Ray is here. Narwhal is how old? Yeah, I didn't know that either, man.
I know it's ruining my mystique when people find out how old I really am because they're like, he's a young gun. I'm like, I ain't no freaking young gun. I'm a old toad.
Stop. There we go. So 242 backers, $14,000, and is this all being done digitally?
The what? The art?
Like the art, yeah.
Yeah, it's all digital.
Dope. Well, I'll definitely be back in this story. And wasn't there there was something for the sign up list too, right? Because I think I have that somewhere. Is there like a third book for the sign up list or something?
Oh yeah. You get the mini comic, which is kind of just a little fun thing because those you assemble them out of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper by making 2 incisions, and then you can fold it and it becomes an 8-sided comic, including the covers. And so we're gonna give everyone one of those, which is kind of a fun little bonus.
Gotcha.
Some assembly required, but that makes people enjoy it even more. People were joking that I was conscripting my own readers to assemble my comics like a sweatshop, and I was like, hey, you're not lying.
That's good, man. That's good work ethic. Gotta get them working. It's important. Yeah, if you ever is that what you do? Do you incorporate child labor? Is that part of your creative process?
It's part of my dream. I definitely am pro child labor.
Part of my dream.
If I have a dream speech, it would be all about child labor.
Yeah, I just am picturing you like standing on a balcony and there's just a bunch of children that are like stapling your comics.
It puts what's it called? I don't know. Puts grease on their elbows or whatever they say.
That's funny shit, dude. That's really funny shit. All right, everyone, make sure to check out Hotel Story. The link should be pinned in the chat. But thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a blast talking to you. I always love talking shop and creative stuff. It's nice to meet a fellow film nerd. Though I guess most people here, I imagine, film's obviously more popular, than comics. So it's it's easy, but we often are talking about comics on my channel, and it's nice to actually just nerd out with someone over film too.
Yeah, I'm kind of owning it more and more that yeah, I think I like movies more than comics. Whatever. I love comics, but yeah. I love comics. Piss me off a little bit though, just because of the current state is part of it too.
Yeah, but like, movies are doing that shit too. What do you mean? I know
it's true. Yeah, you're right.
I think Hollywood. Do you think it's? I feel like I don't know what came first. Does it really matter at this point? They both need fixing.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for coming on. This Sunday, I have another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. You're getting 2 this week because I'm going to be having John Hervey on Sunday. And then after that, we have Hard Chargers, which is every Sunday, of course. People are really liking that show. It's been getting consistent following. So
did it get nominated or anything for the chat awards or whatever?
I didn't even know there was a chat awards, so probably not.
Oh, but maybe next year. But it has been getting a little audience, I noticed, which is awesome. It'll continue to grow.
Let's see how many we get. The Rini one, the last Rini one, that got a shitload of views. I don't know if it was because I think part of it was definitely because Rini was on there. No, but I'm saying part of it was also Jules got shit faced on there.
Oh, nice.
And Cecil was like, what did you guys do? And I'm like, we didn't do shit, man.
Who got shit? I missed it. Who got shit faced?
Well, apparently, all I know is that Jules at one point, she was in Cecil's setup, and she drinks some wine. I don't know if she wants me to be telling. Fuck it. You know what? You have only yourself to blame. Jules took another thing of wine, and then her camera turns off, and then she's gone for a while, and then Cecil just types, "What the fuck did you guys do to my girlfriend?" I was like, what happened? Yeah. She's alive though, so that's okay. As long as she's alive and we can exploit her for more views. That's all that matters. The chat doesn't know it exists. That's their loss, you know what I mean? Hard Chargers is going to be the next big thing. We did have to, I was going to say the first episode, but then I realized we had to remove the first episode because Zach got a little too controversial for air. But definitely make sure to check out Narwhal's channel. If someone could link that below. By the way, why do you? I totally forgot to ask actually before I end this. I can't believe I didn't ask this. Why do you go by Narwhal? How did that happen?
Yeah, so
close out.
the original story was when I mentioned my mentor who taught me how to write in my 20s, screenwrite. He has a sister. She was really cool too, and she wrote some comics. And we tried briefly to kind of do a comic together and get a little thing going. Nothing really came of it, but we kind of made up our own fake company at the time. So she's like, you think of a word and I'll think of a word. We'll put them together. That will be our company name. And so I was like, okay, my word is basketball. And she's like, my word is narwhal. So our company was Basketball Narwhal. But then that actually is kind of stupid. And so it eventually kind of just became Narwhal Comics.
Yeah. So you
And then
just
that-
took her name.
Yeah, and then that populated to my Google account, which somehow showed when I first went on with Ethan's stream. And then Ethan sees, so instead of seeing my name, he sees Narwhal Comics or whatever. And he goes, so do I just call you Narwhal? And I was like, yes. But I didn't, nobody had called me that before.
That's
And
it.
it was like
And you
that ever
never
since.
corrected anyone? Because Berg is a great name for like a creator. You just
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
So like when you're so I have a question. Like when do you want to be like when people are looking back on your work, you're going to be credited as Narwhal? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I think so. For comics, at least. I might do Berg for something else. And
Well,
then,
why would you use different names though?
because I want to drop the hammer. When people are like, they're the same person?
Oh shit! You want it to be like a oh what? No way! I knew him back when
Yeah.
he was this guy. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's good shit. I wanted to ask you that lore.
Yeah,
It's
that's good.
interesting.
Yeah, there's some lore you don't know because you're a whippersnapper, but it's
yeah.
anytime.
All right, I'll have to. Yeah, if I have any more lore, I'll have to ask. Yeah, that's his artist name, like Banksy or Prince. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting.
Eventually,
Well,
I'll be the artist formerly known as Narwhal. I literally will do that starting next year, I think.
That's so good. All right, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure. And everyone, make sure to back Hotel Story. I'm definitely going to check out all this stuff. Be there on Sunday, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out and have a good one.